Welcome to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast, keeping you up to date with what is happening in the York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania real estate markets.
Welcome to the Central PA Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast. My name is Chad Eisenhart. I go to all the local real estate meetups in York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, PA, and rebroadcast them in their entirety. Whether you're a new investor looking to get started or you have over 100 doors, meetups are a great place to meet other like-minded individuals. I'm a buy and hold real estate investor focused on single-family, multifamily, and self-storage in York, PA. You can find me at chadbuys.com. This week, I'm at the Real Estate Mastermind Meetup Group in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, hosted by Sierk. The speaker is Eric Brewer with CR Property Group and Integrity Home Buyers. Eric's been a successful home buyer in York, Pennsylvania since 2004. He's on track to close over 500 transactions this year. Eric discusses finding deals and winning deals, how to run a successful home buying business, his marketing strategy, including mailings, calling, texting, knocking on doors, hiring virtual assistants, mining data, buying mailing lists, targeting foreclosures, his drip campaigns, and his frequency of targeting these customers. The amount of information that Eric gives away is amazing. At the end of the meetup, one of the attendees pointed out to Eric that, hey, all your competitors are in this room. Why would you give so much information away for free? And now on to this week's episode. Thanks.
All right, we ready to get started? Y'all ready in the back? Okay, let's do this thing. You good? Okay. So we got a packed house tonight. How many people are here at REIMG Lancaster for the first time? All right. Love seeing new hands. It's great to have new folks here. We will have some more time to be able to network afterwards. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sierk, the organizer, and we're hosted here at the Hive by Chad Gallagher and the whole crew here at the Hive. Anybody know Chad? So, a couple ground rules as we get started. Who here's got their cell phone on I'm deaf and I can't hear it while I'm driving? Let's go ahead and put that on vibrate before we get going, because I know Eric and the other presenters won't want to be interrupted. If you got questions, I know there's going to be a ton of questions. We've got an awesome presentation all set up for you here tonight with Eric. So please, let's just all talk one at a time. Respect the facility rules. The golden rule is leave it in as good as or better condition as when you found it. So the other thing is, if you do have questions, the key is to ask. Do not walk out of here not having wondered something and never asked, because you will get out of this what you put into it. And the other key is we're here to network. So a little bit about me. Been a real estate investor since '02, licensed agent with eXp Realty. Janet, my wife, is your Lancaster real estate agent, and we're passionate about helping others achieve their dreams through real estate investing. That's why we do this for free. It's a great opportunity to get together and network with other folks. I'm primarily a buy and sell real estate investor. Usually there's a whole lot of fix that goes on in between, and my company is Sierk Homes. So a couple computers jumping back and forth, so the formatting is a little bumped out, but we're not here giving you professional, legal, tax advice. We're not representing you in any way. We're not here to take your money. It's free. Okay? Eric, you don't have anything to sell tonight, do you?
I do not.
All right, awesome.
Well, you guys have houses to sell, right?
Not tonight.
Come on.
I'm off the clock.
Off the clock. So, and it's not a place to come and go and not get out of your comfort zone. It may not be, you may be an introvert. It may not be very comfortable for you to walk up and say, hi, my name is Chuck. And you are?
My name is Dan.
Your name is Dan. See, that wasn't that hard, right? So please take the opportunity while you're here to meet the folks that are here as well. We're not responsible for your actions. Please take the information, go do your due diligence, consult with your legal advisors, and go make some money. So the one thing that will make you or break you is you. Okay, Chad, you've got some. We have a sponsor here.
Oh, man. Well, hey, first off, thanks for coming. I'm Chad. About a year ago, we had this vision of making this place awesome, that people would come and hang out and learn about real estate. Thanks for actually coming. I was always worried that like we have a party and no one would show up. People are here. This is good. third Thursday of every month, we'll be here, so you can bring your friends and keep growing. We have one more space in the back to keep growing. We do make it a free event, so we don't charge anything. One way we do that is have a couple of things that we just mentioned. So this is an insurance company we started called Red Rabbit Insurance. I have saved about $5 grand a month by moving my investment properties here. So some serious savings you can get. The guy who runs it is the best insurance person I've ever met with investment level insurance. Unlike most insurance guys, he actually owns investment properties. His email is ryan@redrabbitinsurance.com. I can't say enough about what Ryan's done. Honestly, we decided to partner with him because of how much money he saved us and how blown away we were by just his service and everything he's done. So if you're looking for someone to talk to about insurance who actually understands the investment property world and can most likely save you a significant amount of money with better coverage, Ryan's awesome.
Cool. Thanks, Chad. Okay. So every single month, we do have the opportunity for you to bring wholesale deals, properties that you're looking to liquidate out of your portfolio. So we call this segment the pitch. So who's got a deal? This is how it works. You identify yourself as, hey, I got a deal. You come on up. It's just like a commercial. You got 30 seconds. So during that 30 seconds, we're not going to take Q&A. That's what the networking time afterwards is for. So name what type of deal is. Are you looking to assign your contract? Are you selling the contract? Or do you have a house that you own that you're looking to sell? Please be direct to the seller. We don't want to have daisy chains or, hey, my buddy, and I'm going to co-wholesale this and that type of thing. Please be direct to the seller. Just a little bit background on the property. You don't have to give the exact street address if you don't want to, but at least give us an indication of where on the block, which block it's in, what town, some of the practical details, but not the full rap sheet on what's going on with the property. Okay? So, anybody got a deal? I think there's a room full of buyers.
I'm one.
You got one?
Yeah.
Let her.
It's a funny story too. Well, it's kind of sad, but it's an interesting story. So this guy reached out to us seriously 2.5 years ago and said, hey, I'm going through a rough divorce. I need help with management. And so we came out. It was in Camp Hill, 30 units, went to court, and I didn't really understand what happened. All I knew was I started getting badgered by another attorney, and I didn't know what I was doing. It turns out I was in the middle of a divorce hearing that didn't go very well for the guy who owned the properties, so it got locked into a divorce settlement for 2.5 years. It's now out of that, and he's lost so much money, he wants to sell the properties. They're off market, they're in Camp Hill. I've been in them, they're in good shape. I'd say this isn't your best deal ever, but you'll get it under a market price of what it would be on the MLS.
Oh, is that inappropriate to raise my hand? Oh, okay.
So it's off market. If you have an interest in it, my email is chad@slighthousegroup.com. It's about 35 units. You don't have to buy all of them. I think it's 4 to 5 buildings. It's in Camp Hill. I don't know if you've heard, but Camp Hill's a nice market to buy things in. What else do you need to know? I don't know the price, but basic cap rate is 7.5 to 8. So this is not your home run best deal ever. You're buying stable properties off market at a probably 5 to 10% discount on what it would go for on the open market. If you're interested, let me know. And here's what I'll leave you with. You might be able to talk him into holding a little bit of money because I think he has some equity in these things. So shoot me a note. Last thing I want to say, everyone just say thank you to the Slight House team in the back. There's some people back there, Kylie and Chad. Basically all day today I've been yelling at people to do things, and them in the back have been doing these things to make this thing actually work, and this work and all this things, so I appreciate it.
Chad, if they need financing, be happy to sit down and talk to them.
There you go. A man who can finance things.
Yeah. Anybody else got a deal they're looking to sell tonight?
I got one.
Come on up.
Only one?
I only have 30 seconds. My name's Chris Martin. I'm an agent, and I also buy and sell properties. I have a little bit of a unique property I took over about a year ago. It's in Newburgh Village in Newmanstown, if you know where that is, primarily owner-occupied. I am selling that property with the original owner that bought it in 2000. The retail on those are about $179. I'd like to get about $155. The tenant has paid me a year and a half at $1,050 a month. They have the right to stay in the property as long as they pay, and every year they have a 2% increase built in. So if you'd like more information, it's on Newburgh Village. It's a rancher, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. I'm selling for $155, and it's a decent house. cmartinteam@gmail.com. The letter C, my last name Martin, team like a ball team @gmail.com if you want information. And I have cards here. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? I've got a property on the south end of Columbia that I'm looking to unload in the upper 50s. So if you're looking for, it's an end of row, 3-bedroom, 1-bath, and needs a bit of work. So come and see me afterwards. I'll be here till the end. Okay? Anyone else?
Eric might not be on the bus, but I'm on the bus.
Come on up.
Sorry, let me get out of this beehive over here.
Yeah, we're a real estate company. We're not the Clay Brothers. I don't know what to tell you.
So Anthony Lynham with Sierk Property Group. I work with Eric. Not a single deal to pitch, but if you guys want to go to our website, crpropertygroup.com/wholesale, that's it. It's that simple. Probably have about 25 wholesales up there right now. So if you guys are looking for a deal, all over central Pennsylvania, so Harrisburg, York, just pick one up in Lancaster. So thank you.
Okay, cool. Going once, gone. All right. So before we jump in, I want to get inside your head just a little bit. Okay, so this is my best rendition using PowerPoint to draw an eye. So this is us looking out on the world this way. Okay? So we're all here because we want something. We're looking for results, profits, more properties going into our portfolio, more passive income, etc. Right? So what does it take to get results? Actions, right? You got to take action in order to have anything happen. Okay, Chuck, where are you going with this, right? So what drives our actions? Say again? Motivation. Yes, I'm looking for a different word. Think of money. Money helps, right? I'm thinking of what's going on inside your head. There you go. There's one of them, right? So you've got thoughts and feelings, right? Chicken or the egg? What comes first? Your thoughts or your feelings? Doesn't really matter. They're, in essence, one and the same. But what drives our thoughts and our feelings?
Our experience.
Experience is really warm, really warm. Call it beliefs.
Memories.
Right? Think of all the memes you've seen on Facebook, all the motivational quotes, right? If you can believe, you can achieve, take action, all those types of things. This is the progression of when an event comes into our head, okay? So an event could be, you knock the cup off the table. Actually, let me use the cat example. You're walking down the street and you see a cat. The cat's walking towards you. You can't jump straight to the result, and you don't know what action you're going to take You don't know what you're going to feel until your brain processes what you believe about cats. How many people here love cats? Okay. How many people are deathly afraid of cats? I didn't expect, right? That's not a very popular phobia. Feline phobia? I don't know. I made that up. But let's say you were. Let's say you were scared to death of cats. And there's one walking towards you. What do you think you're going to do? Right? What are you going to feel? What are you going to think? Be like, oh crap, there's a cat coming. I'm going to turn around and run away because I'm scared of cats. That's your belief. Cats. Well, a tiger, right? Yeah, that would be an extreme example. But let's say you love cats. And you believe, oh, they're the softest colors. I mean, I've had so many cats and they're just wonderful. What are you going to think and you're going to feel? You're going to be all excited and you're going to walk up to the cat and you're going to pet the cat. Did anything change with the event? No, the cat was just walking towards you. So I use a very, very simple example that, the events could be with all the construction that's going on in the streets of the city of Lancaster, and they're jackhammering the streets and doing whatever. Well, guess what? That puts a lot of vibration into the ground and old cast iron sewer pipes, right? All that vibration. Guess what? People's sewer lines are collapsing in good neighborhoods of town. Well, that sucks. So then that event, hey, my sewer is backing up into my basement. Not fun. What are your beliefs? You're going to have thoughts and feelings. You're going to take an action. You're either going to get pissed off. You're going to punch the wall, kick the cat. And you're going to get a result of a bruised hand, etc., whatever. So the beliefs are made up of two parts. Right? You have subconscious beliefs. And most of these subconscious beliefs are created from the time of 0 to 7 years old. They're either good or they're bad. Okay? Now, as adults, we live in our conscious, right? We have conscious beliefs. These are your goals. These are your desires. I want to make that money. Oh, I really love my wife. I'm really happy. That's where your conscious is taking you. But how you perceive the event is determined by your thoughts and your feelings, right? Change your mind. Think differently, and you'll succeed. Sure. How many people here do affirmations every morning? Right? Affirmations are very focused in your conscious beliefs or your conscious mind, because you're thinking, okay, I need to tell myself this, I need to tell myself that. Right? So you're working in that conscious part of your brain. What do you think the percentage split of what determines what beliefs we operate under are between subconscious and conscious?
Mostly subconscious.
Mostly subconscious. It's 5% conscious and 95% subconscious. How many people have done those affirmations? I'm gonna get up at 5 in the morning and I'm gonna go to the gym and I'm gonna go do this and I'm doing it. I work out. I'm a badass. I'm a, whatever. A couple days go by, be like, snooze. And you don't get up. And you don't do it. Because those beliefs are then controlling, just click, were. I forget which book that was very, very prominent concept in, but so if we want to have different results, what's usually the first thing that people change? I got to do something different. That didn't work. I want a different result. Let me do something different. Okay. Well, you have to change your thoughts or your mindset. You got to be feeling different somehow so you can act in a different way. But I can only guess that pretty much everybody here has done that and hit a wall. Yeah, I mean, there's one-offs. I mean, there's one-off bad things happen. But it comes back to here. It's not here. It's not at the actions. You don't have to hustle harder. So I want to just get inside your head and have you think a little bit, maybe explore more on your beliefs and the subconscious. It's not something you can consciously decide to change. So if you run into that wall, if you're maybe struggling and you're like, I want to be doing 300 deals a year. I want to be making $1 million a year. I just need to work harder. I just need to work harder. Just think about it a little bit different as you go back through each of these steps, that the root may be something that you learned very early on. And no, I'm not starting a life coaching business and there's no pitch, right? But it's something that I've become aware of, and it has made a massive impact in my life. And I just want you to consider that when you're beating your head and you're frustrated and you're mad because you didn't get the results that you may have wanted, it's not necessarily just something that you can control. So it's something to explore, okay? So, we're going to hop into our feature presentation. Everybody got their popcorn, ready to go? I'm really excited to have Eric Brewer, owner of both CR Property Group and Integrity Home Buyers, joining us here from York. Everybody, please put your hands together. Warm welcome for Eric Brewer.
Thanks, Chuck.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
He's going to be driving Facebook.
There's 3 buttons on here. It's going to be really hard for me to mess it up, but if you give me a chance, I'll pull through. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I'm extremely honored to be here and have the opportunity to share with you some successes we've had and tell you a little bit about how we run our real estate business. Chuck, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it. Chad and Slate House, thanks for hosting. It's a great venue here. So let's get started. So is this the first slide? All right, thanks. So our company name is CR Property Group. That's our parent company name. We started back in 2004. Also known as Integrity First Home Buyers. We have a CR Property Group of Pennsylvania. We're located at 2500 Kingston Road in York, PA. And also an office on York Road in Lutherville, Timonium. Do business there in mostly Baltimore County, but a little bit in the city as well. Some redevelopment areas in the city. This is myself here and my 4 children, my lovely wife, Sonia. That's Camden, 16-year-old son. He's getting his first start at quarterback for varsity tomorrow night, so I'm pretty pumped up about that. He's been working hard. He's a sophomore, so it's kind of a big deal. He booted the senior out of there, and they're on a really good team too. So my youngest, Livia, oldest daughter, Maya, Lily, who's really bad, and Sonia, my beautiful wife. Been in business for 14 years. We've purchased, renovated, and sold over 4,000 homes since 2004. On pace to break 400 acquisitions and sales this year, and we have a retail brokerage as well. We're licensed with Keller Williams, and we'll do over 800 retail conventional real estate transactions this year. This is Anthony. Anthony's right up front here. He's my COO. He's been with me just shy of 2 years now. Since he's come on board, we've grown by leaps and bounds. It's a whole different presentation, but I was actually physically able to get myself out of the day-to-day operation, operate more as a visionary inside of my business, and Anthony really runs the day-to-day operations as far as the business goes. So I'm blessed to have him here, not only tonight, but just with the company as a whole. So we're going to just talk a little bit about tonight. I want to give you an overview of how our business operates, and we've broken it down into really just 6 key categories or departments. Marketing, lead conversion, acquisitions, renovation, sales and leasing, property management. We have a partnership with Slate House. They've done a wonderful job in property management, not only for my personal portfolio, but we sell, this year we'll do over 200 turnkey rentals that we sell to investors all across the country. And part of that package that we deliver is a fully renovated, occupied property, then with professional management on the back end. So that property management is provided by Slate House Group. They do a wonderful job. Let's see here.
200?
Yeah. So I want to give you just a quick, if you can click on the link there. I want to just show you how we actually run our business. We run on EOS. Anybody here familiar with EOS? What is it?
Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Yeah, so it's an entrepreneurial operating system. It's basically the systems and processes that Fortune 500 companies have used for decades to run their business, and then they teach it so that you can implement it into I think it's at least an 8-person team. So if you have 8 people inside of a business, EOS is applicable. We implemented it about a year ago, and it's really been great for our business. But the first thing that we do when you implement EOS is they teach right people, right seats. You won't be able to see this, but it's more the illustration I want to share with you. In a lot of businesses, we have what's called an organizational chart. This is a little bit different. It's called an accountability chart. And the reason it's a little bit different is the person that does this set of responsibilities isn't necessarily beneath the person that's above them. Accountability just speaks to who is ultimately responsible for making sure that task gets done. So when you look at our marketing department, lead management department, acquisitions department, retail sales department, dispositions, transaction coordinating, and then finance and HR, the person at the top sits on what we call our leadership team. We have a once a week 90-minute meeting where we talk about high-level stuff, right? Who are we hiring? Who are we firing? Why are we firing them? Do they need trained? What are the big picture items that we want to pursue this week? And what are the issues within the company that we feel need to be addressed before they turn into something bigger? And then each of these tasks below are all the things that make the company actually run, right? We do a ton of direct mail. We do 70,000 pieces of direct mail a month. Somebody's got to make sure that stuff goes out. It's not the person at the top of the accountability chart. It's their job to make sure it gets done, but not to physically do it. Does that help you with the accountability chart? All right. So you might have 55 different things that need to get done in here, but our leadership team is comprised of 8 people, and then each of them have about 3 or 4 people that work for them. Make sense? So that's the accountability chart. That's how we run our business. It's the second part of the accountability chart. We just had these printed and we posted them all throughout the company. It really helps with communication. One of the things we realize is by people knowing who's responsible for them, when they have questions or concerns, how often do people go to the wrong person to ask a question? Or the wrong 3 people and they get 3 different responses. And they don't know who to go to, so send out an email to like a company-wide email, right? And then we respond when we didn't need to, or we give different answers. So we've just noticed that we actually over-communicated before we developed the accountability chart. There was too many people involved in too many processes, and it really slowed down production. One of the things I take a lot of pride in, and a lot of people say, but we have a lot of fun. And it's created a culture within our company that I would attribute going back to EOS. One of the things they really talk about is we have monthly town hall meetings. It's very similar to this. Everybody in the company gets together. We talk about the state of the union. What happened over the course of the last 30 days? Who did we hire that's new? What's their role? What department do they work in? Anybody ever work at a place and a new person walks in and you're like, who's that person? Steve, what's Steve doing? Is he taking my job? Right? So that's all eliminated. For 10 years, I would always actually be annoyed when somebody would say, well, I'm the last person to know. And I'm like, well, Sally, you work in marketing. John's in renovations. Why would I ever talk to you about that? But it contributes to a better culture when people feel like they're at the forefront of decisions that are being made. Not that they helped make the decision or even had a say, but they feel included, they feel respected, they feel like their opinion is valued. And that all contributes to having a better culture, which contributes to having fun. So I got an example of us having fun. We've been extremely active on social media Chad kids me all the time. I was on Facebook Live a little bit when I walked in here. I think that's probably how Chuck E met me. You probably saw me on Facebook. Today was the first time I think we physically met. So can you click on this link? Can we get this link to play? So we do a weekly show every Monday. It's called the Real Estate Breakdown. And this was intended, can you pause it before it gets all weird? This is a little weird, but it's funny. This was intended, I was going to go door to door and make offers on Facebook Live. Just to show people like what it's like to do what we do, right? I was expecting to get kicked off a couple porches, a couple people to take me crazy, and who knows, I might have bought a house. And we actually got sidetracked, and someone that works with me and the guy that runs the studio that I was in, we ended up doing like this crazy little video, and if you look, it got like over, so it's from 5 months ago, it's over 5,000 views. And this was the beginning stages of really an intentional effort on social media, which is part of what we're going to talk to today about how to get deals. And we spoke on this at a mastermind group in Tampa, Florida with over 100 investors. And to make a long story short, who here likes referrals? Everybody should have their hand up, right? Why does someone send you a referral? Can you answer that question for me? Why would you send somebody? They trust you. They feel like they know you, right? We found through social media, through organic activity, not a scripted video, not you sitting in front of a green screen and reading off of a script what you want everybody to think that you know. But I do Facebook Lives for 3 or 4 minutes with my wife loves it, by the way. 3 or 4 minutes of her doing laundry and the kids like acting up like everybody else's kids, right? My kids are crazy. I told you Lily's nuts. Like she's legit like a future felon. And but people start to then, because they want to do business with people, they want to do business with a company. And that's in the short version is what we've learned by doing this. We stumbled on it by accident. So let's take a peek at this video, and I'll show you a little bit about what we do.
I have a holder we can put in.
Like, what am I doing here? I
got it, Gene. I'll just hold it.
So we're at the neighborhood. We're like a block away from the neighborhood we were going to do.
I got some cool little toys.
Oh,
Darren, let's still in there. What's up? Yo, you're gonna run for real estate, huh? Huh? Boom. Take off. Bam. Let's go.
You got to see the part. It's pretty early on where he gets on the bike, right? Where he hops on the little tricycle.
changes better not be left.
So the funny thing is this guy runs like 30 miles a day, and he wears a GoPro all day, and he's live, and he's got like, he wears T-shirts, and he charges $500 a day. And people pay him $500 a day to run with his T-shirt on.
The streets and out in different communities and stuff. We need someone to drive.
I'm tired already. I'm going to start getting up at 5 though, Chuck, I swear. Look. All right, so we could skip this. So you guys get the idea, right? So he gets a bunny hop. So that's a little peek at what we do. I do 3 to 5 of these videos a day. I do one in the morning when I'm driving to work every day. That's real estate related. I did one the other day where I talked about the BRRRR method, right? People know about the BRRRR method of investing in real estate: buy, renovate, rent, refinance, repeat. And what it does is when you mix that in with a little bit of the personal touch, you then become a referral for people. And we did 6 deals the first quarter that we started measuring this. 6 transactions from virtual strangers that I was Facebook friends with, and netted over $130,000 in gross profit. From complete strangers that were referred to me by other complete strangers that felt like they knew me, could trust me, and I was a friend through Facebook. So that's something I wanted to share with you a little bit. That's an example of it. It was super uncomfortable at first. I was not comfortable being on camera. The only thing I can tell you is just do it. It's just like anything else. You weren't comfortable walking when you were 8 months old until you did it. This is no different. Just do it. And the best part about it is people are like, well, I stutter, or I'm not sure what I'm saying. That's what makes it real. That's why people appreciate it, because it's not scripted. It's real. We stutter when we talk. We touch our face. We rub our nose, right? It's fine. So what we're going to talk about and what I'm here for today to give to you is how we find properties. There's a couple different ways to do that. These are no secrets. Use a realtor that is familiar with both on-market and off-market properties. How many people here today are licensed real estate agents? Okay, so you have access to the MLS, right? There's bank-owned properties, estates, all different types of properties that come on the market that are priced aggressively. How competitive is that market right now? Really competitive, right? Farouk's here. Farouk's an agent I've done tons of business with. It's really competitive just to get the listings. The agents are feeling the pinch, right? Because everybody's trying to get into the REO space as the agents because they sell, because there's so many of us investors that are looking to buy those deals. And then also off-market. Real estate agents, we do you would know the terminology. At the end of each month, we go back and look at how many deals were done in our market, and we compare it to the people that we were marketing to, and we identify the people that sold their house at a discounted price that weren't on our radar. And then we put them into different categories, like why did we not market to these people? What filter were we using, or what were we doing that eliminated those people? And then we monitor it and we create what we call a different avatar. I just learned that word like 3 months ago, so don't think I'm like some data nerd. I just, somebody taught it to me. But it creates an avatar of what a motivated seller is. What we found is that over 70% of the deals that are being done in our market are still being done by real estate agents, but they're off market. Who here sees a deal that goes in the MLS and says for comp purposes only? You ever see that? Yeah, it's because someone had a listing, they brought it to their buyer, it went in for comp purposes, and a lot of times the agent will bring that to their investor, right? So they have relationships with maybe 2, 3, 4 investors. We get those phone calls, and they'll say, hey, look, I told my buyer they don't really want it to put on the market, they're not excited about showings. We're going to invite 4 investors that we know to come out, and we're going to take the best offer. So we found that 70% of those deals are still being done through real estate agents. Search on market for your investment property, so you can set up all different types of searches. Bright's really great with that stuff. You can put 50 different filters in there so that you get automatic updates each time a new property comes on the market. Look for tax, bank sales, and auctions. We've been through the whole sheriff sale, tax sale in 7 different counties. It's excruciating. Takes a lot of time. It is uber competitive. It's standing room only in York County. We don't even go anymore. Properties are selling for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $70,000 over what we're willing to pay. Just not the best use of our time. But by all means, it's a means to find deals. And you can go and maybe buy 4 deals at once. That's the big benefit to those auctions is you can buy 4 deals at one time. It takes us being in 6 different places at 6 different times to buy 4 deals. So it's definitely a way you can find deals. Doesn't work for us, but it's out there. Search off market for your investment property. Off market, really, we're going to get into a bunch of different niche lists that we mail. A lot of the stuff where we've talked about where we've identified the typical avatar of a motivated seller in our market. So we'll touch on that. Here's what we found with marketing results. We measure, and then measure again. So everything that we spend money on, we measure. We measure the response. We measure the amount of appointments. We measure the amount of deals. We measure the amount of profit per deal. And then what we do is we're nimble enough to be able to shift our marketing dollars towards what we get the biggest response, that nets the most appointments, that translates to the most deals. And then ultimately, if I'm doing 10 deals, but I'm only making $4,000 a deal, right? Versus 2 deals for $40,000 a deal, I'll take the 2 deals at 40. Less time, right? Less energy. And at the end, I'm only servicing 2 clients. So we're constantly measuring that stuff. What we found was we've tested 30 different postcards. We did yellow letters. We did Google Street View. Anybody know what Google Street View is? It's actual Google Street View picture of the house. And we got real excited the first time we mailed out. The phone was ringing off the hook. 75% of the people are like, you creep, you drove past my house and took a picture. I'm calling the cop. I'm serious, I swear to you. So we spent all this time fielding phone calls from upset people. So if we measured just the response rate, I'd still be mailing Google Street View cards. Go ahead.
Yeah, what do you mean you were taking pictures?
No, the customer called and said, you drove past my house and took a picture, you creep?
Yeah, so you sent them a picture of their house.
From Google.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they've never heard of Google or Street View or whatever. But we had somebody that walked into our office once and wanted to fight me. I would have beat his ass, but I'm just kidding. So anyway, what we found was it had nothing to do with the message, had everything to do with the data. Like the person that you're mailing, who you're communicating to. Matter of fact, the most successful postcard, and the one we use all the time, is literally like 4 lines of handwritten text and a phone number. And we buy as many deals off of that as we do a postcard this big, that's nice and glossy, that's branded with all kinds of logos and websites and all that stuff on it. The design, I'm here to tell you, in our experience, means nothing. It's all about who you're marketing to and then the consistency. Desired audience and target marketing, that's what I'm talking about. Consistent reach. So what we found is we get updated data from our mass list. So our biggest list in each county is about 25,000 records. It's predominantly people over the age of 60, own the property more than 10 years. There's a lot of different, 7 or 8 different consistent variables. In each market, it's about 25 to 30,000 people in the 7 markets that we're in. And we mail them 2 times per quarter, and then at the end of that quarter, we get an updated list, okay? So consistently, if someone stays on that list, they're gonna get 6 mailers from us a year. It's pretty consistent. Didn't see a benefit in doing it every month. That was almost overkill. When we went to 6 weeks, we were getting the same response. If we went longer than 6 weeks, the response and the deals slowed down. So the 6-week time frame was perfect for us. They were getting 2 mailers per quarter, 6 a year. Design doesn't matter when mailing. I literally called Anthony at 4 in the morning, and I had this, it was gonna change the world, right? I was at the grocery store and I walked in, and there was this thing that said text. It wasn't meat, but for humor purposes, I'll tell you, it said meat. Text meat to the deli and get $3 off your $10 per. Oh man, I texted in, I printed it, walked back, I showed him my phone, I got $3 off half pound of bologna. It was awesome. So as I'm going through the rest of the grocery store, I'm like, oh my God, what if we sent out postcards and people could text us to get an automatic offer? Change the world. Great idea. We spent all this money. Look at this. We got an app set up. We got 4 leads. 5. How many houses we buy? 2. How many postcards we've had to mail in order to get those same 2 deals? The same batch. So 10,000. You sure? Anyway, we got 5 leads, bought 2 homes. We only fielded 5 leads, bought the same amount of homes we otherwise would have mailed, between 5 and 10,000 postcards. Sounds like a lot. I trust this data. But the point was, it had nothing to do with the postcard. When I sent it out, I was heartbroken. We got 5 leads. I was convinced the number wasn't working. The app wasn't working. Something had to be wrong. It couldn't have been my idea. But it turned out it was just the response rate. But what happened is the only people that responded, because of the aggressive nature of the postcard, right? Now that I go back and look at it, not everybody wants an offer. When they respond to a mailer, they just want to talk. Or what would an offer look like? Or how does your process work? This is pretty direct. Like, you're going to get an offer right away, okay? But we got the same amount of deals. So what I realized was it had nothing to do with the copy, had nothing to do with the design, has everything to do with the data. Got the same amount of deals out of it. Lead generation in a competitive market. These are the things that we focus on and what we feel separates us and gives us an advantage. Predictive analytics. We use a company, they're out of Seattle, and they mine data. They analyze, I don't know what the number is, it's a lot, 1 million different data points in each market. They track social media activity. They track whether you bank at a credit union or a bank. How many car loans do you have? How many kids do you have? Have you moved once every 7 years, 12 years, 11 years? What's your favorite color? What pages do you like on Facebook? Who do you follow? And then they find that typical people that sell their house at a discount have commonalities between them, right? So they do these predictive analytics, artificial intelligence, everybody's heard of that, right? So what they do is then when we decide that we want to go into a market, we say, hey, we want to go into the Lancaster market, we want predictive analytics, we get an exclusive licensing, we're then the only customer that they sell that information to, and they give us 25,000 names per market. And in a market that has about 300,000 people, that's about the rough number that we get. And we get on average less than 1%, more than 0.5%, what we call net response rate. So we only measure actual leads. If someone calls and says, pound sand buddy, take me off your list, we don't count that as a net lead. Net lead for us is someone that actually has some interest, even minimal, in selling their house. So anything other than really, pound sand, we count as a net lead. So we use predictive analytics. We then stack lists. So we use a app called Property List Manager. How many active records do we have in Property List Manager right now?
220,000.
So 220,000 records, addresses, names, all that good stuff. And then when we stack them, we'll show you there's 30 different lists that we buy, pre-foreclosure, delinquent tax, divorce, all that good stuff. Oh, okay. So this is the company actually that we buy our predictive analytics from. It's called Aldantic. And then what we do is we take that list and then all of these different lists, some of these we get each week, some we get each month, some we get each quarter. But then what we do is we take all of these lists and then we put them into a stacking software, and then we find if someone shows up on 2 or more lists, that's the hottest lead that you can imagine. And if you think about it, if someone's facing pre-foreclosure, they're behind on their taxes, they have high equity, and they're an absentee owner, they don't live there, pretty motivated, right? So that's the benefit of having Property List Manager. We're able to take all of those, run them through a filter, and then it sorts it based on the amount of lists. So someone that's on like 9 of those lists is at the very top of the list, right? We're going to call them, we're going to text them, we're going to knock on the door, we're going to send them smoke signals, we're going to do everything we can to try and get a hold of them, right? Then niche list. That's a little bit what you see down there, right? You'd be surprised how many different points of data you can get. If someone moves, they get a haircut, I mean, there's literally a list for everything. You'd be surprised. So when you look into lists, look for some of these niche lists. We've been at Outbound now for about a year consistently. We make north of about 2,000 outbound calls a day, and we send about 3,000 text messages a day. There's a whole compliance process you got to go through with outbound calling and texting. Like Chuck said, I wouldn't give you legal advice. We spent about 6 months of research and a couple $1,000s making sure we were compliant, got official opinion letters from our legal counsel about how to do it and why it was applicable. And it does change from state to state. So what we do in Pennsylvania and Maryland is fitting for Pennsylvania and Maryland. If anybody here does deals outside of those areas, make sure you do the research in the state you do business in, not where you live, because they are very, very different. And I know there's people that have got themselves in serious trouble using things like ringless voicemails, mass texting. I'll give you a little secret. The one thing about texting that makes it compliant, it has to be manual. So we literally have a guy named, what's his name, Jan? Jan that sits in Pakistan, and great guy, by the way, and Philippines. And he literally clicks all day. Loves his job. I mean, but he sends 1,500 texts a day, and then we have another one that does the same amount of texts per day. So, but it's done manually. They literally send each text. Now it's copy and pasted, but they send it manually. And by the way, texting we get the highest response to. We get about a 30% response rate.
15.
I was a little off. 30 sounded better. But 15's high. When you're talking about a 0.5%, half of 1% to mail, 15% response on text is phenomenal. And it pays. Don't correct me if I'm wrong, just let it slide. It's like 1 penny to text, is that right?
Yes.
And 11 cents to skip trace. So about 12 cents per contact. For direct mail, we're almost 60 cents per contact. Does that make sense? 60 cents per contact. That's buying the data, mailing the data. We have a really good deal with a mail house because the bulk that we do, we pay 34 cents a postcard. I nailed it. 34 cents a postcard. Happy to share that with anybody. If you guys do some mail and you want to look to save some money, happy to introduce you to the company that we use. But it's 34 cents. We pay about 15 cents per record for the predictive analytics. And then we have some design work and other stuff that gets up to almost 60 cents. Texting's 10 cents to skip trade. It's a half. So we can send twice as many text messages, get 14 times better response. So you can imagine how lucrative texting is. Problem is the data is really hard to get. Yes?
Question about what do you say in that text message to not make yourself seem creepy to the developer?
I can probably show it to you. It's something pretty basic. Hey, my name's Eric. I'm a local real estate investor. Do you still own the property at 123 Main Street? If so, would you be interested in talking about selling it?
That's it.
Yeah, it's not, yeah. And the more generic, the better. When we had our company name in it, response suffered. The biggest thing we learned about texting is kind of like when I talked about social media. I don't know about you, but most people that have my cell phone that text me are friends and family, right? We don't give everybody our cell phone number. And texting is just more of an intimate way to communicate. we get a great response to it. And you'll be surprised, it takes some guts from the customer to pick up the phone and call this big bad investor. I call it text muscles. They get text muscles, right? Like, what's the big deal? They can't make me sell my house over text. So they're much more willing to engage, but it does take a lot more follow-up because they'll text, and then once the conversation starts to go towards maybe you're getting somewhere, then they go MIA. But it's no different than anything else. If you have follow-up in place, you'll be successful. So that's outbound calling, texting. We actually did door knocking, right? We went straight caveman over the summer, and I employed 13 school students. We did almost like a PR campaign. I employed 13 students, 10 hours a day, 2 hours each day. We gave them education. It was from a local York High. It's a school in our hometown. And they were all football players, very disciplined, handpicked by the coach. And we got results. Again, in today's age, people get inundated with email, inundated with phone calls. They're getting text messages from me, phone calls from me. But nobody knocks on a door, right? How often do people physically knock on a door? It takes, a lot of resources. We had 13 people, right? And we would split them up into different markets, two-man teams, and it was very lucrative. But it's very labor intensive.
Were you canvassing neighborhoods, or were you specifically going after?
We started canvassing neighborhoods, and the results sucked. The best thing to do is use your list. And the people that, because it is so labor intensive, the people that we knocked showed up on multiple lists, right? Because they were the most motivated people out of the group that we had over 200,000 data points. I can't knock on that many doors. So knowing that it's very labor intensive, we started with the most motivated sellers, which we identify by being on multiple lists. Social media marketing, we do the standard Facebook sponsored ads, targeted ads. For those of you who don't know, Facebook recently just completely shut down real estate targeted ads. They're in the process of a massive lawsuit for predatory, I don't know the exact terminology, but bottom line is in one neighborhood or one town, right, there was a real estate team that had really honed in on what the demographic of the buyer was for a particular development that they were selling. So they had it dialed in so much that this ad was in front of 25,000 of those people a day. And someone got pissed off and sued these people for millions and millions and millions of dollars, looped Facebook into it, so now it's $1 billion lawsuit. So anything that has the term real estate in it, done. You cannot target it, they will shut it down. So how do we do that? That's why we do just the organic ads that we do. They get shared. It's been extremely successful for us. But I would encourage you not to spend a whole lot of money on Facebook if that's something that you're doing now. The results are way down. We're getting 1/10 of the response of what we were 4 months ago. But we're still active on social media, a little bit of Instagram, but mostly Facebook. And we post from our personal pages and then share it to our business page. I don't think that's the end of it. Yeah. Total, Pennsylvania, we have just over 30 people total. In Maryland, we had, and that's including 11 real estate agents. So the rest is a mix of, we had 4 acquisition agents, 3 admin, 4 project management, someone that answers the phones, a bookkeeper, dispositions. We have an on-market executive assistant that scrubs all of the listings that come across the MLS each day and dispatches them to Chris is doing our on-market buying. We buy about 8 to 10 properties on market in the 7 counties that we're in. It's tough, but we have a full staff dedicated to being the first to respond to those deals, and we get offers in right away. We got really strong relationships with the REO agents, and we've been at it for 15 years. So we have a pretty good system down, and so does that answer your question? And then in Maryland, it's about the same. We do a similar amount of deals, so very similar, about 60 people total between the 2 offices. And then follow-up. We are just militant about follow-up. We have 2 more executive assistants from the Philippines, Andrea and Ann, and all they do is tracking for us. So every person we talk to, we don't get an appointment. They put onto someone's calendar to make a follow-up call, and then they hold them accountable to do that. Everybody that we have an appointment with, we make an offer and the offer doesn't get accepted, they get put into a whole different follow-up sequence that's a combination of call, text. You can use ringless voicemail, by the way, for someone that's you're already engaged with, right? So if you have a relationship, if they've called you, it's like the gloves are off. You can do whatever you want to do, right? You can text them, you can RVM them, you can email them, you can do all that stuff until they request to be removed from whatever your marketing is. But we literally have 5 to 7 touches for each of our customers within the first 72 hours that we've made contact with them. So that's our follow-up. We use combination of 2 different CRMs. We haven't been able to find one that does everything that we want to do. The CRMs that do the reporting that we need, that gives us a dashboard where we can track leads and a contact rate and appointment rate and all that stuff, doesn't quite have the customer contact tools that we want. So we use 2 different CRMs. Everybody will have, their favorite or what works for them. We use 2 and it's worked well for us. So we talked about data, contact points. Our 3 primary contact points are call, text, and what am I forgetting? Mail. All right. So for every data point that we collect, we talked about over 200,000 data points. We refresh that predictive analytics every quarter, right? We mail them twice. We text them once a month. We call them every 6 weeks. So over the course of that time frame, in 1 quarter, they're going to get 2 mailers, 2 calls, 3 text messages. All right. Frequency, again, we're consistent throughout the entire year. As long as someone is still on that list, hasn't asked to be removed, or something in their situation hasn't changed, and they're still on our list, we're nonstop with consistency and contacting. Just to follow up on that, so all lists are mailed. I get a little ahead of myself. All lists are mailed, called, texted, added to follow-up, assigned to CRM, drip campaigns. So we do ringless voicemails. Everybody know what ringless voicemails are? You ever get a voicemail on your phone never rang, and there's a voicemail in there. There's a software, what's the one we use now? What's the call fire? So you can upload through Excel a spreadsheet. With the press of a button, it'll drop your message. So you record the message. Hey, this is Steve. Just check it in and see if you sold your house. If not, give me a ring. Remember, I can pay all cash. So we have an entire database of people that are somewhere in the follow-up sequence. With the press of one button, we can drop 1,500 voicemails. Same thing with emails, right? Our CRM sends out automated emails. Salesforce, Boomtown, Podio built platforms. There's 1,000 of them out there. And then Facebook funnels. We have Facebook funnels where if someone clicks on an ad, they go into a whole follow-up sequence. We mail twice a quarter, every quarter. We skip trace every record. We get about a 90% success rate. So if we buy 25,000 records in Lancaster County this quarter, we skip trace the whole list. We'll get about 90% to come back with a phone number. Okay? Only 20% of those we get cell phone numbers for. So that's the only challenge with texting, is there's such a small sample size. Out of 25,000 people, I'm only getting 5,500 phone numbers, right? I'm getting 22,500 landlines. And then we also scrub it against the do not call list. And known litigators is a big one. You can run through a list of known litigators. Right? These are sue-happy people that have a record of suing people. We run them through. Yes? I'm sorry, what was the question again?
Landlines, are they even valid?
Oh, yeah. Did I tell you our average customer is over the age of 60? Who has a landline? People over the age of 60. Even if they have a cell phone, they use it for emergency cases. But that was at first I'm like, dude, we're not going to get a hold of anybody on these landlines. You'd be surprised.
So let me clarify something there real quick. So when we get a ton of phone numbers that are not valid. When we skip trace, we'll get some of those softwares that we use to skip trace, we'll get up to 9 phone numbers per person. We'll call all 9. And 1 or 2 might be previous phone numbers for that person, which means we got 7 bad phone numbers.
And a lot of times it'll come with some type of association. Past employer, current employer, aunt, uncle, neighbor. But a lot of times we're able to call a bad number, and you ask for Steve. Sounds really simple, but when they say, no, this isn't Steve, well, do you know Steve Huckleberry? Well, yeah, I do. It's my uncle. Oh, I'm trying to track him down, see if he had his interest in selling that property he owns out in, Manheim Township. Oh, yeah, I'll give you Steve's number. So it was a simple thing that we changed. Somebody that was doing the same thing was like, hey, man, what do you do with the numbers that you're calling? I'm like, dude, 7 out of 9 numbers suck. He's like, did you ever ask if they knew the person you were looking for? Duh. No, I didn't. We started doing it. So when we call those numbers, a lot of times inside of those 7 to 9 numbers that you get, somebody knows where to find the person that you're looking for. I'm not sure if it's in here, but we get a decent percentage of our mail that gets returned. Okay? Used to throw it out. The only reason mail gets returned is typically it's vacant, the person's deceased, no mail receptacle, or they have no forwarding address. Those 4 things are very, very strong indicators of a motivated seller. So when we get returned mail, we run it back through Property List Manager, it gets added to a return mail stack, and it's one of the first people we call. If someone's deceased inside of that household, right? It's an estate, it's probate, aunt inherited it, something. It's a good indicator that that person's going to look to offload that property and probably willing to do so at a discount. We call our list. We use a software called Mojo Dialer. I don't know the specifics of it. Anthony's far more technical than me, but it allows you to dial several lines at one time, 5 to 7 lines at one time. If one answers, it automatically disconnects the others. If none of them answer, it drops 5 consecutive voicemails at one time. You don't have to stay on the phone and leave a voicemail, and then it moves on to the other 5. So that's why one person for us can make up to 650 phone calls a day. And what's the normal contact rate out of 650 phone calls?
Usually about 35 contacts.
And out of 35 contacts, get how many appointments?
2.
So it doesn't sound like a lot, but 2 a day, 5 days a week's 10. Out of those 10, we'll keep about 7 appointments, and our closing ratio is about 25%. So for each outbound caller that makes 650 quality phone calls, we're getting 3-4 deals a week from one outbound caller. So,
Before you move on, I just wanted to touch on what you said about known litigators.
yeah.
Individuals who are known litigators or categories of people who are known litigators?
What's the difference? What do you mean? I'm sorry.
So is it because Steve Brewer is on this list as a known litigator because his name came up 18 times in lawsuits? I'm not down to him, or is it because he's got Esquire behind his name?
No. It's known. Like there's. Go ahead.
So I get what you're asking. Is it also excluding lawyers because they're litigators?
Is it categories of people or is it individual people?
It's both.
Okay.
But I think it's mostly individual people. Like it doesn't rule out a dentist because dentists are more likely to litigate. And if anybody's a dentist, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that personally. Can we what?
Can we block them from being tenants?
Yes, actually. Talk to Anthony. He knows the software. Yes.
And just the one that wasn't listed up there, but you're scrubbing it through the do not call list.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought I said it. The do not call list, DNC. My man's got me. You saw it, right? Yeah. But we actually learned that you can, as a real estate investor, you can call people on the do not call list because we're not selling something. It's a little gray for me, but 100%, you would tell me with 100% confidence we can call because we're not selling anything.
It's deemed an informational. Well, they'll find a way.
We choose to typically not operate in anything that's gray. It's not worth it for me. Yeah.
Are you using stateside outbound callers in your office, or are you using VAs?
Yeah, so we a little bit of both. What we found was, so for texting it doesn't matter because with texting there's no accent, right? We have better success with stateside, 2 full-time stateside, 1 that we use predominantly for like the colder list. We're just farming for low-hanging fruit. Someone that's desperate to sell but just hasn't picked up the phone. We just found that they don't really care if it's someone from the, and they have, I mean, we actually have, I don't know if it's up here, but if you ever want to hire a VA, we've had a lot of success with a company called Rocket Fuel. They literally have an entire stable of virtual assistants in every category from strong administrative, bookkeeping, marketing specialists, both outbound marketing, right? Like they're good with ad design and stuff like that, and then inward marketing, right? Where they're more of the analytical to measure your results. That's 2 of what we have put together our trackers and manual dashboards for us so we can see what's working and what's not in real time. But I would highly encourage you, Rocket Fuel. We have 2 VAs that are literally would qualify for about an $18 to $20 an hour wage in the US that we pay $4.75 an hour. and they think we are like, I mean, they thank us every day every week when they get their paycheck, they are like doing backflips. Matter of fact, one of our most tenured VA was able to move out of a 1-bedroom apartment with a family of 5, and when she started working for us, and we give her like a $25 bonus for each house we buy, and she was able to move her whole family into a 4-bedroom house. It like changed her life. So I know $4.75 an hour sounds like highway robbery for them, and they're able to work out of the comfort of their own home. It's life-changing. Yeah.
Is that in the Philippines?
In the Philippines, yeah.
You're saying VA, I'm not.
Virtual assistant, I'm sorry, virtual assistant. So virtually just means they don't work inside of your office. They're virtual, yeah.
Real quick,
No, you're good.
I noticed people in mine that use VAs try the Dominican Republic.
Yeah. Tried what?
The Dominican Republic.
Yeah. Yeah, we've just had luck with this particular company, and 2 of them are a husband and wife team. So they're really solid, yeah.
Now, at that particular company, do they take care of all like the laws and regulations?
Yeah.
Or do you respond?
They're 1099, yeah. We get invoiced. They have benefits, they got everything. It's a real company. And they train them, and they have an accountability coach. So, you know, we're busy, right? We're busy renovating homes, buying homes, doing it. We don't necessarily always have the time to coach and manage these people. I think if you get one person, you get an accountability coach with them. They'll do a 1-week coaching call with you, the VA, and their coach. If they're making outbound calls, they'll randomly select like 5 calls. They'll go through the call, assess the call, coach the person on what they could have done better, and then ultimately they leave, you know, the results up to you about whether you're happy with it or not. So they've been great for us. Not great for everything. There's just certain things. Listen, we live in South Central PA. People are immediately turned off sometimes when they hear an accent, and understandably so. I am. Like the instant I hear somebody start off with an, I'm not interested. I don't even have that car anymore. What do you mean extended warranty? Right? Like I get those phone calls 3 times a day. So any other questions about that stuff? I know I went over it kind of quick. Everybody good? So not just any process, top 20% lead conversion, live answer. We're huge on live answer. Him and I fight about it all the time. Only because we're just trying to figure out the best way to do it. We both agree that it's super important, and I'm going to tell you why. Right now, and those of you that have been in the market for a while, it's cyclical, right? Like at sometimes the hardest thing to get done is construction. At other times, the hardest thing to do is sell homes. Right now, everybody's competing for the deal, right? Like everybody's competing for the phone call. So when you get the phone call, what can you not do? Miss it. It can't go to voicemail. It can't go to a virtual assistant. I'm sorry, Ann and Andrea, but it can't go to you. I need a closer on the phone, okay? So what we found is that a missed call will statistically take 7 callbacks to connect. What do you think happens while you're making those 7 phone calls? They talk to somebody else. We're in a very response, heavy environment. Like people, it's actually, some people will tell you it's better to be quick than good right now. I tend to disagree. We try and do both, but some people would tell you it's better to be quick than good. So we found that for every time we miss a live call, we call back 7 times. And then here's what happened, just to give you a quick glimpse. They call you, you miss the call, they leave a message. They called an 800 number or a vanity number or a call rail number or something you track. You're calling back from your cell phone. Do they recognize the number? No. So you go to voicemail, right? Then they call you back. You're on the phone with another missed call you had. 7 calls happens like that. And a lot of times the reason people don't call you back is because they got a hold of you. You build a good relationship. They've already scheduled an appointment with you. Why are they going to call him back? That was painful. That guy asked me 30 questions about why I didn't fix my roof in the last 3 years and all this other stuff. I'm going to see how it goes with him. And if it doesn't work out, then I'll call you back. It's too late. If you're any good, you're going to get the deal before he ever does.
You wasted time.
Yeah. So live answer is huge for us, and it's really hard. Because if I'm on the phone with a live answer and another call comes in, I can't answer, right? So it's been really hard for us to scale. We're constantly trying to figure out, the only way we've really been able to figure it out is just add people, which is expensive. 2 to 3 dedicated full-time live answer ISAs, that's what we have. 1 is virtual, she lives in Connecticut, Maine, one of the 2, they're kind of the same. And then 2 that we have that work inside of our office. Answer Connect, Pat Live, anybody ever heard of those? It's an answering service. They do okay, it is live answer, they are stateside. We give them like 5 real basic questions. what's your name, where are you calling from, where can we email information, and what's the best time to return your call. So we do have 24/7 live answer, but they're not qualified, what we call lead managers or salespeople. Qualifying motivation, the script when they talk to one of our lead managers is very, very, very pointed. We're trying to get to a place of negotiations pretty early in that relationship. With the sheer vast number of leads that we get, we just can't waste time going out to 400 appointments a month. We really try to narrow those down to motivated sellers that are realistic about their asking price. Setting expectations, so we measure everything like I talked about, outbound calls, text, follow-up calls, text, per day, resulting in a number of appointments. So what we do is we say we want to buy 30 homes a month in York. Then we take, well, how many appointments does it take if you buy 20%? If you keep 70% of the appointments you schedule, how many appointments do you need to set? If you get 20% of the people you talk to, you get an appointment from, how many people do you need to talk to? And that dictates how many calls we have to make, how many mailers we have to send. So we actually work backwards from our goal, and then we develop a marketing budget around that, and we develop a call sequence behind that, and it's been successful for us. CRM, automated drip campaigns. Once a day we get a deal, well, probably not once a day. Once a month, twice a month, we get a deal off an automated drip campaign on an email from someone we met 18 months ago, and they were in a drip sequence, and it was a well-written, we spent a couple $1,000 3 years ago and had someone write these really nice drip campaigns that sound very personable. I think they mostly come from me. They're written for me because I'm on the postcards and stuff. That's the other thing too. The one thing we did find that works is if you put a face on the postcard, we get a much better response. And local. People want to deal with somebody local that looks normal. I guess I look somewhat normal because people call off the postcard. Follow-up calls, we're militant. If we do miss a call, we know that time is of the essence. We call 3 times a day for 3 days. Then we call once a day for 5 days, and then it gets kind of dropped into a, oh shit, we missed it bucket. And then TO calls. So this is something we started doing about 3 months ago. So before an acquisition agent leaves an appointment, they call our acquisitions manager. They run the deal by them. And a lot of times what we find is we train our acquisitions agents to build a ton of rapport. We don't treat it like a robotic assessment appointment. They're very engaged with the customer, figuring out what the pain points are, what's the problem, how can I solve it? And a lot of times they get emotionally attached to the customer so that they might be, dare I say, scared, but they're not. They almost feel too close to the seller to ask for the deal. So before they leave, they have to call the acquisitions manager. If he doesn't answer, it drops to me. If I don't answer, it drops to Anthony. And we find a lot of times they're ready to pack their stuff up and leave, and we'll send them back in with another idea. Or we might have a slightly different opinion of what we could pay for the property. We'll pull comps again. I'll get a good description. They send 30 pictures before they even call us. And we've seen success. We're getting deals from those TO calls that we were leaving before. And maybe some of those we would have got from follow-up anyway, but I'd rather make the deal on the spot than run the risk of not getting it and hoping that follow-up works. Okay, so let me do one other thing. The other, maybe this is what follow-up calls meant. Then we do a next day manager call, sort of like a customer service call. And our acquisitions manager calls and says, hey Steve, this is Doug at Integrity First Home Buyers. I understand Sarah was out to see you yesterday. I just wanted to take 2 minutes of your time and see how that experience went. We care an awful lot about the way our customers are treated, and I just wanted to check in with you. Oh yeah, that's fine, Doug. Well, let me ask you a question. Was Sarah on time? Doesn't sound anything like a sales call, right? Because people want to, they're willing to do a survey, but they don't want to talk any sales, right? They're scared they might get talked into something. So we treat it like a survey. And he says, did they arrive on time? Did they explain the process to you thoroughly? Did you feel like you were, given all the information you need? Hey, did Sarah make an offer? Oh, she did? Okay. And what'd you think of that offer? It was okay. I mean, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being you're ready to accept, 1, no way, where would you say you are? I'm a 7. Well, Steve, hey, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but what would it take to get you from a 7 to a 10? Well, she offered me 100. If she gave 102, I'd sell this sucker. I'm like literally, I mean, that's an exaggeration for the sake of making a point, but sometimes it's literally that simple, right? And sometimes just, you got to think from the time you meet somebody as a complete stranger, our average quality acquisitions appointment takes about 1 hour and 40 minutes. Some people just won't move that far in 1 hour and 40 minutes. Like no matter what you do, they're just not going to make a deal. They just needed you to leave so they feel comfortable about being in control. So we do next day follow-up calls. Very, 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 very powerful. And even if you don't get the deal, what do you think the customer feels? What's their perception of your business when you called to do a customer service call as a flipper? What do they think about your business? You're professional, you care, right? So even if they're not going to make a deal for 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, 2 years, you're going to rank up there pretty high. It's going to set you apart from the competition. So that's been one of the things we've noticed has worked, in addition to just getting the deal sometimes when we call the next day. Acquisitions, trained and knowledgeable acquisitions agents. We do not allow, it sounds terrible. We do not encourage or send our acquisitions agents typically on an appointment by themselves for at least 90 days. They'll shadow a manager, they'll shadow one of their coworkers. If anybody here ever heard of John Martinez? Okay, cool. A couple people. He is like the Grant Cardone of real estate investing. He's created an entire curriculum around how to acquire properties at discounted prices. He sells a 12-week course. It's a lifetime membership. I want to say it's about $4,000 up front, but he runs a 12-week course 3 times a year. He does it virtually, and then like twice a year he does a actual boot camp. It's like $2,500 to attend, and that's a live event. It's mandatory for all of our acquisitions agents. They've all been through the 12-week course, and I think now everybody other than Ty works with us in Lancaster. He's next to go to the John Martinez boot camp. It's awesome. You'll love it. And the last one was in Denver. Of course, he always does it like these really cool venues, so everybody's excited about going. But they're all trained, extremely knowledgeable. We run them through how to run comps. We spend 2 weeks with our project managers about how to identify, hidden latent defects in a property. What does a bad foundation look like? How to identify where the septic in the well is. We train the living snot out of our people. Consistent training and support. We do weekly sales training. We hired it's a affiliate of John Martinez, and we did a 60-minute training call. We would record sales calls, and then we would send them off to him. He'd break them down into like 20-minute, take an hour and 40-minute appointment, break it down into like a 20-minute highlight, and then critique or make suggestions about how that person can improve on an appointment. So we do continuous training. We do it every week. We have an acquisitions manager. He coaches the acquisitions agents before the appointment, does the TO calls, so the acquisition agent calls Doug before he leaves, and he also makes the appointment, makes the follow-up call, the customer survey call that we talked about. He does that the day after the appointment, and then he has final say for any deal. So a lot of times our acquisitions agents will lock it up. It's right on the line. They'll write it up. We'll put in like a 24-hour due diligence. Doug goes out the next day to sign off on whether or not it's a deal. That used to be Anthony and I. It was just really tough to run every other part of the business and run out to Ephrata or run out to Camp Hill to look at a deal. So Doug's there to basically make sure that we make only good deals and we don't make the bad deals. Develop a rapport with sellers. So I can tell you that most of the real estate investors that I've seen on an appointment, and I'm sure at some point I probably operated this way, become very like clinical and operational inside of appointment. We walk around with the clipboard, we're taking pictures of the bad furnace, and we're focused on the house. The house doesn't mean anything. It's all about the person. So we throw this word around like build rapport. What does it mean to us in these deals? It means engaging with the customer. Like, Bob, why are you selling? It seems like a nice place. You've been here for 25 years. Well, just getting up down the steps is really bad for me. My back, and I'm retired. I was a truck. Talk about him being a truck driver. Talk about how are you dealing with your back? I mean, what happens if you don't sell the house? Right? Talk about that kind of stuff. Don't point out the fact that his furnace is leaking. He knows. Right? And you just sound like a jerk. I mean, you just do, whether you realize it or not. When you start, hey, Bob, we're going to have to deal with that mold. I mean, Bob knows. He's no dummy. He knows you got to deal with the mold. Talk to him about where he's going. How is selling this house going to change your life? Where are you planning on going from here? Oh, I'm going to go down and, live with my daughter. You got 2 wonderful grandkids down there. I can't wait to be with them. I'm going to be a stay-at-home grandpa. Oh my God, are you serious? I hope to be a great, stay-at-home grandpa when I grow up someday. You got to be really excited about that. Is the only thing you got to do is sell the house to get down there? Yeah. I hope I can help you out. It's a whole different. Remember I told you our appointment takes an hour and 45 minutes? That's why. We engage in real meaningful conversation with people. I wouldn't even say we negotiate. At the end of the appointment, we just talk about price. It's not negotiating. If you treat your appointments like that, it's probably the one single thing that we do that sets us apart at the appointment phase. It's just the way that we treat our customers. Don't be a robot. Don't spend time making notes and taking pictures of drop ceiling tiles and bad water heaters and cracked foundation walls and bad gutters, right? Most of that stuff doesn't even matter. You want the conversation to be centered around why are they selling, how can you solve the problem, and what is that worth to them? Not ARV minus 70% and figuring out what your rehab is. You got to know that stuff to know how high you can go, but it has nothing to do with how low they'll go. Make sense? Do you see the connection there, what I'm saying? Sellers make deals with people, not companies. If you walk through the house and you're very analytical and you're talking about water heaters and blah, 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 and blah, and we've been in business for 12, they don't really care. Too often, and I can tell you I'm guilty of it, we get in and we just start telling everybody how great we are. I can close in 7 days. What if I want to close in 3 months? So if you're not talking to them about what they're trying to get done, you're going to tell them how great you are, and literally none of it applies to them, right? So be a person, not a company. Does it make sense? It's a lot easier than what you might think. Is that it? This is something, so we start real quick. So if you didn't notice, everything we do is like hyper targeted, right? Like I don't mail anybody unless I have a good reason to. I'm going to show you, so we're about Monday. Monday we start TV, about 400 spots a month. I wouldn't do it other than the fact that we basically found somebody that takes all this analytics, measuring, and all that stuff, and they've been able to apply it. 1 second, just want to let me finish because I'll forget. They've applied the same analytics to television that we've applied to mail and Facebook and all of that stuff. They literally measure response times by the minute on television. Guy's kind of a freak, like the way he keeps up with stuff, and he provides this service to like 40 different markets across the country. So they constantly move commercials from show to show, from hour to hour, from minute to minute, based on the response time and the amount of appointments that we get off of it. So I'm going to brag a little bit. We like the commercial that we did here. It's a 30-second spot. It's going to run on network television, so it'll be all over the place. And it starts Monday, and we'll do about 400 spots a month. We're anticipated to get how many leads? 30 a week, 120. So for us, that should translate to how many deals?
Should be 12.
So we should get 12 new transactions off of this. We're going to spend $11,500. It's $1,000 a deal. For those of you that measure what your cost per transaction is, ours is about $2,500, and we do a really good job. Most people we talk to, particularly in some of the more competitive markets, like Lancaster's super competitive. Our cost per contract here is almost double what it is in York. And then we do business in like Franklin County, not a whole lot of competition for those of you that are familiar with Franklin County. And northern parts of like Cumberland and Dauphin County are half asleep too, so we do pretty good up there. But $1,000 a contract is ridiculous. So, yes, you had a question.
I mentioned TV, so I was wondering if you thought about or done any work on YouTube.
So every video I do goes to YouTube. We've only started, it's been 7 or 8 months. We partnered with a digital advertising company, and we're still kind of in the beginning stages of, and I think this will answer your question. He has a way to take everything that we do on Facebook, save the video, leverage it to YouTube, and then YouTube has 30 different applications that it syncs with and sends that content out to. So the answer right now is no, but I'd love to be able to tell you in 90 days I got it figured out and we're kicking ass with it. But right now I'm a novice, but we do have a good connection with someone that admired our social media presence and was excited about, he's actually doing it for free for us. And he wants to take all of our content and somehow create some type of symmetry between Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and then however he plans to deploy that information to draw leads in.
So is that like an organic YouTube strategy or
Yeah,
paid?
no paid. It's all organic. Yeah. So that's it. Let's show the commercial. And then, Chuck, do we have time for any questions that anybody have, or do we need to wrap up?
Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Life can change quickly. At Integrity First Home Buyers, we are honored to be able to provide real solutions to real life challenges. In fact, our team of professional home buyers has helped thousands of individuals, couples, and families sell their home. Meanwhile, beautifying the neighborhood, improving property values, and bettering the community, one home at a time.
For a fair cash offer on your home, call Integrity First Home Buyers today.
So that'll go live Monday. We shot that video. That video is actually a little over a minute long. We shot it. We used it as a running video on Facebook, and then when we decided we were going to do TV, we were on a tight timeline, and we worked with a developer that took that video, cropped it down, what I call it, chopped and screwed. My son talks about that on music, so I try and drop lingo when I can, but I don't know when to use it. But anyway, they chopped and screwed the video to cut it down to 30 seconds, and that's what it turned out to be. We like it. We think it'll be good. I used to be in used car sales. That's why you see like the flashing up there. If I had to redo it again, I'd back it down, but I fought hard to get that up there. I was like, you got to be in their face, man. Didn't I? Yeah. We fought about that too, but. So, hey, any questions? Anybody have any questions for me? Anything that I can clarify about what we talked about? No? Thanks for oh, okay.
Well, on the texting, is your PA handling all of the responses too? Or is
Up until, we take them down to like, let's say if there's 10 steps to get to an appointment, they take it to step 7 and then they hand it off to an actual salesperson. So once it gets into like, well, what's your offer based on? Boom, that goes to an acquisitions agent. But the beginning part, typically the first 3 to 5 7's like, who the hell are you and how'd you get my phone number? And we have an entire, I call it library of canned responses. All they have to do is drag it over. So they don't have to actually type it, because if you ever talk to someone that has an accent, a lot of times they type with an accent too. So we try and give them as many conditional responses as we can, so there's zero thought, and it just speeds up the response time. They literally just drag it over at text, and then they've been trained on how to identify when it gets to a point where they need to turn it over. So we use, actually Sherpa, the texting platform does skip tracing for you, and we're at over 90%, meaning, oh. So you wouldn't be able to use it here.
Skip Genie is probably your best bet. Skipgenie.com.
They're actually a little, like if Sherpa has a 90% what they call hit rate, which it brings back a number, Skip Genie's like 92%. But the good thing for us is with Sherpa, it skip traces and has the texting platform all in one, so it's a little bit easier for us because we have so many people in that data with so much outgoing information each day. The convenience is a little better for us. And there's a couple different ones, IDI, Skip Genie. If you literally Google it, or there's some Facebook platforms, there's a lot of different places you can get skip tracing, but it can be expensive. We've seen as high as like 20 cents a record. We pay about 10 or 11 cents a record right now, so I would encourage you to do some research, look for the quality of the data, because you get a phone number, but if it's a bad phone number, your results on your outbound phone calling and texting will stink. And they're going to go, this texting thing's a joke, Eric was a liar. I promise you it works, but you got to have the right data.
So, as we all know, is a very competitive and tight market right now.
Mm-hmm.
You are talking to your competition right
Mm-hmm.
here, sharing valuable knowledge on marketing. Eric Brewer, why are you here tonight? What are you hoping to get out of it?
Nothing. Other than maybe a little personal gratification. I in a weird kind of way, enjoy this stuff. Enjoy this stuff meaning like I like teaching. It's something I kind of came across. It's one of the things that I'm blessed to have Anthony for. The biggest value add that I'm able to provide to my company now is teaching, developing people, growing people, expanding. We'll do 400 deals this year. We were doing 180 for 10 years. I couldn't break through that ceiling. And it's because I tried to literally do everything in my business. I was the acquisitions agent, the lead manager, the project manager, the contractor. I did everything but answer the phones and pay the bills because they both were depressing.
That's where all his hair went.
He told me he was going to use that joke, just so you know. I signed off on it.
I got permission.
It's okay. It didn't get that great of a response.
No, I know.
No, I'm just kidding.
That's all right. That's all right.
But no, to answer your question, and I got most of this from someone just like me standing in a room where I was in your seat. So for me, it's just a way to pay it back. Like I didn't create any of this stuff. I just met the right people, asked the right questions, followed up, did it, tested it, changed it, quit, started again. And so for me, it's just, I wouldn't have these opportunities if someone didn't share with me. It's only right that I share with you guys. So
to piggyback off of that,
Yeah.
right? Are there any deals left?
Yeah,
Are you doing all the deals?
I don't mean, I'm being completely honest with you when I tell you they move so quick. Whatever I would have left with, I talked to Chad 2 hours ago about an 11 unit, and we sold it on the way up here.
I was pissed.
So he almost wouldn't let me in. He sent me to the front of the building. He's like, yeah, dude, it's 800. There's a number out front, dummy. And, so anyway, I'm kidding a little bit. But yeah, we do have deals. Chris is our primary contact for wholesale, Chris Gambrell. If you're looking for a deal, so a couple deals that we have fix and flips. We wholesale over 70% of our inventory. Another good question might be why? I literally hate renovations with a passion. For the first 12, somebody's laughing, right? You feel me? So for the first 12 years of my life, I was buying everything on the MLS. The only way I could make money was to fix and flip it. I have the luxury of not having to do that with every transaction because we're now direct to seller. We're buying at deeper discounts. So for me, we'll gladly pass on, take 50% of potential profit because of the ease of the deal. That's not going to last forever. There's going to be a point to where there's a shift in the marketplace. And for those of you that are positioned correctly will thrive. But I'll have to at some point go back to fix and flipping because it's not going to be as easy to get hard money. It's not going to be as easy to sell homes on the MLS. But for right now, the wholesale market is great. So we're going to ride the wave while it's cooking. We sell turnkey rental properties. Just to define what a turnkey rental property is to me, we renovate our rentals virtually the same way, and Chad can attest to this, the way that we do our flips. Without the design aspect, we don't open up walls and things like that. But we're very heavily focused on mechanicals. We do 2 home inspections on every property that we renovate. We do one in the beginning to verify that our scope of work addresses everything that needs to be addressed within that renovation. Then we do another home inspection at the conclusion to verify the integrity of the repairs that were done by the 6 to 12 different subcontractors we had on the job. That report is offered free of charge to the buyer of that property. If they decide to get another one, that's okay. But they do have a free home inspection. We use Home Check Home Inspections. They've been in business for 26 years. Very legitimate company. They do a phenomenal job. We also then place the tenant, and then we turn it over to Slate House with professional property management before it's sold to the end user. So it is literally a turnkey rental property. For those of you that are agents, I just spoke at Keller Williams Legacy West in Westminster to a room full of about 40 real estate agents, blew their mind about turnkey rental properties. The biggest thing it is for those of you that are not only investors but real estate agents is when you think of an investor, it's probably a fix and flipper, right? So any clients that you have that you sell properties to, you're a real estate agent, right? If you sell a property to someone and they have a great experience, how many homes could you realistically sell them over the next 20 years?
Over the next 20 years?
2, 3 maybe, if they move a couple times.
Absolutely.
But I mean, literally for our turnkeys in York, our typical turnkey is about $90,000. So they can become an investor for $18,000, which is 20% down. We offer a minimum of a net 8% cap rate, over $250 a month in positive cash flow, and over a 12% cash on cash return. And when I say net cap rate, we've stripped out maintenance reserves, we've stripped out vacancy reserves. It's a very responsible net cap rate that we're talking about, not some inflated number. So we sell turnkey rentals, we sell wholesale deals. We have a website dedicated for wholesale deals. We'll put what we think ARV is in there. We try and be as accurate as we possibly can. Renovations move around so much, I don't even attempt to estimate what Chad's rehab would be, what your rehab would be. So we put ARV in there in the purchase price. It's up to you to figure out what your renovation would be. But we're selling 70% of the 35 deals we're doing in a month. So we're putting numbers out there that make good sense. So we do have wholesale deals. And I'll make sure that information gets shared with Chuck so he can send it out to all of you. I'll be here for a little bit if anybody wants to talk. I can certainly connect you with Chris. Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. I had a question. So obviously you have a system, you have 14 years, 4,000 homes.
What would I do first? Solo guy. Today would probably be different than it would have been 14 years ago. So which one do you want me to answer? Today or 14 years ago?
Today.
If I knew what I knew now 14 years ago?
Today.
Today starting out.
Well, not 14 years ago. It's today.
Yeah.
But I'm not starting out.
But they might be.
So, all right, so what's the first thing I would do? I would, holy moly, there's one in every crowd. I would, probably the first thing I would do is decide, I'd locate one market. And I would pick one exit strategy. And we're fortunate to have a couple. I'd rather not do that. But in order for us to do the volume that we need to do to support the amount of people I have and the area coverage, not every, like Franklin County's not great for turnkey, but it's very lucrative for flipping because there's just limited inventory, but rents are very unpredictable. Lancaster County is great for turnkey, but it's super hard to buy here. So what I would do is pick one. Right now, if I were to do it, okay, so now it's coming to me, I'd be a wholesaler. I would wholesale. Because it's a great way to produce cash flow, limited exposure. You can do so if you literally take a few of those lists that are up there. I could give you the top performing ones that we get the most deals from. Decide what you feel is the amount of income that you need to produce to be happy. The amount of income that you need to maybe quit your full-time job or whatever. We all have a different amount of money we feel that we need to live the lifestyle that we want. And then work backwards, reverse engineer it. If I got to do 4 deals at $10,000 a deal, you can figure out how many leads you need, how many calls you need to make, how many appointments you need, and how many offers you got to make. So I would start with wholesaling, and I would anticipate everybody has their own opinion, but I think we're going to be in this market, if not a little bit better, for another 2 years. So you can wholesale a lot of properties over the next 2 years, stack cash. The next thing I would do is start buying rentals. Through the Burr method. So that's how I would start. I would start with, if I could do it, and I sold 1,500 homes that I wish I had back. So I would start investing in rental properties a lot sooner than I did. Does that help? It's as honest as I can be with you without, I don't know, but I think that's what I would do. Yeah.
So you talked about your reluctance to film social media, or you're being more comfortable. So how long did it take you to get over it?
Like my first video. And it was really, and it was, I'm what's the right way to say this? Like,
really surprising knowing you so well.
I would literally do anything to make a buck. As long as it morally, I'm at peace with, and I feel that it's, in line with my character and my core values. So I was uncomfortable. And I did it the first time, and I got a message about someone was like, it was actually one of the first things I ever did, and I won't make this too long, but I have a 16-year-old son I told you about. And the end of his freshman year, he got shitty grades. And about halfway through the school year, I had constantly been up his butt, right? Like, I talk about accountability, like I'm all about accountability. So I felt like he was only getting good grades because I made him. So at midterms, I said, hey, at some point you're gonna have to start doing this stuff because you believe in it and you care about your grades, not because I'm all over you every day, 3 times a day about your grades. I'm not gonna check your grades until the end of the school year, but you know what the expectations are. You've never missed honor roll, and I don't expect you to start now. And at the end of the school year, hopefully we can revisit your grades and everything's great. At the end of the school year, if he had 7 grades, he had 5 D's, a C, and a B. And he's a good kid. Like, he's a really good kid, but I was disappointed. And I struggled with it. I didn't know if I should lay the hammer down, take away everything that's, valuable. He's got a girlfriend. He plays football. He's on 3 different basketball teams. He has sleepovers all the time. And I thought long and hard about it. I prayed about it with my wife, and I knew what I had to do. And I had to take away all. It was really hard for me because he's my oldest son. He's more of a friend. I mean, we definitely have a father-son relationship, but I do everything with the kid. Like, we go to football games, basketball games. We watch our favorite television shows together. And I posted a picture of myself, and I don't know why I did it. I think I was just trying to get some of these crazy emotions out. And I posted a picture with a long, probably boring message about whether it's hard or easy, what's right is always right. And the response I got was phenomenal. And it wasn't intended that way. It was just a way of me, just kind of sharing what I was going through, and it just felt good to get it out, because who could I talk to? My wife was very consoling. She told me I was doing the right thing, and I put it out there, and it ended up this networking group that we're in that has over 150 really badass investors in it. He called me 2 months later and was like, hey, can I use your Facebook post? Which one? I thought he meant me riding the bike and running laps around the parking lot. It wasn't that one. And he said he had to kick someone out of the group that had violated their core values. And he said, I've been stressing about it for a couple months, but I know it's the right thing to do. And I want to use that as an example of how doing the right thing is never negotiable, regardless of whether it's easy, hard, or feels like it's impossible. You have to do the right thing. So there was that. And then we were at a realtor networking golf tournament, and literally 17 people that I'm they're not real friends, they're Facebook friends, came up to me and was like, hey, I just want to let you know, I really appreciate, what you put out there about your son. I've kind of gone through some similar things with my daughter, and I was really struggling about whether I was a good parent, a bad parent, was I being too hard, was I being too lenient? And that's when it kind of clicked for me that it wasn't just about deals and traffic, is that I was actually connecting with people. And it felt good to have people. I was a little embarrassed, but at the same time, it felt really good to be able to have a positive impact on people that I care about. And that it just became almost, an obsession with me, that I'm constantly searching for a way to just put something out maybe once a day that connects with one person. And I've been pretty successful with it. I put a lot of thought into what I do. This is Facebook Live here. I'm sure somebody will have something to say about it that I'm friends with, and they might take a little nugget out of what we talked about. So it's very personally, on for selfish level, it's gratifying for me. I like doing it, but I've just gotten a good response from the people that I'm friends with on social media. So does that answer your question? Sorry, I rambled on a little bit there, but it's
okay.
It was a big deal for me. I was like, what am I going to say? And I touch my face and I scratch, and I'm like, do I have anything up my nose? Am I good? Because you're on Facebook Live, there's no rehearsing, right? So literally everything I do is live. I don't record anything and then post it. Everything I do is just right off the cuff and live. Sometimes I screw up and say stupid shit, but it is what it is. People like it. It shows that you're human. I guess that's the biggest thing I've taken away from it. Because some people are like, oh, you're this big, bad investor, right? You sit behind this big desk and only buy homes from people that are desperate. I mean, that's face it, that's what people think about flippers. So it adds a very personal aspect to what we do, and that's worked well for us. So, anybody else? Someone over here have a question? No, we good?
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for having me. Appreciate it.
So, what's the key takeaway? Anybody want to share what you got out of sitting here for over an hour? Don't be a robot, be a human. Excellent takeaway. Anybody else want to share? Chad?
Lead generation machine.
Be a lead generation machine, right? No leads, no deals. Okay?
Chuck, just two things real quick.
Yep.
So next month, we got Chris Kaufman.
Yep.
And I don't know if anyone else, but if you guys don't know Chris, he's done some really killer things in and around residential and commercial. Super awesome speaker. Two, I put a little flyer. We're doing a conference in April. So we'll have 40 speakers just like Eric there. Eric will be there too. If you want to know more about it, Kylie in the back is running the conference and doing a killer job. I promise you, you will not regret it. And if you use the code Meetup, you can save money on your ticket. But each vendor there will have discounts that will more than make up for the cost of the conference. It's at the Convention Center downtown, April 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The flyer tells you more about it. If you go and you're not happy, I'll give you your money for free. I promise you, I know the speakers, they are life-changing people, and the vendors are just good. So that's awesome. And the last thing I'll say really quick is the Hive. We're doing a discount right now. If anyone's interested, we'll give you the first month free if you want to be a member here. I have a flyer on that too. $150, you can be a member here and learn a ton as well as make use of the space. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. We appreciate you. We'll see you again third Thursday in November. Have a good night.
Tune in next time to the Central Pennsylvania Real Estate Investors Meetup podcast, keeping you up to date with what is happening in the York, Lancaster, and Harrisburg, Pennsylvania real estate markets.